Husky gang. Welcome back to the channel. The game's been out for a while now, and I'm making a settings video here. So in this video, the goal is just understand why you're choosing the settings you're choosing. Most people don't understand why, and that's the biggest issue with it. Anybody who put out a settings video like 2 days after the game started, you got to question it a little bit. I mean, some of the pro players know what they're doing, but overall, nobody's had enough time with the game to really know if that's exactly what you should be doing. I've been playing for just over a week here and there. Now I have a good understanding of why I've chosen the settings that I've chosen. I'll let you know what's preference and what is actually just a standard within the game. We're going to start with the graphics. Ultimately, you need to know what your game's going to look like before you tweak your controller settings. Because it doesn't matter what your controller settings are if your game looks like doo-doo, or if your game is outputting too high and then your controller and stuff is not responding because you're lagging. Display mode, full screen, borderless. That's because I'm on computer and I like to go between different screens. In this video, if you're gonna follow along with my settings, you should restart your shaders, which is right here on the screen. Definitely restart shaders preloading, because after you do this, you're gonna have to restart your game and then let the shaders reload. So all of this is pretty standard. I wouldn't change your display gamma. I wouldn't change your aspect ratio. Use your monitor's highest refresh rate. Sometimes it locks it because you're not on exclusive mode. So I've gone in and changed it to full screen exclusive, and then I changed my thing to auto, which is my auto refresh rate, and then change it back to borderless so that I can go between windows. Then I scroll down here. My NVIDIA Reflex low latency, I think this is only for computers. I don't think this happens on console. It's on plus boost. I do think my GPU is a bit better than my CPU. If you don't know what that means, if you've built your own computer, there's a chip that you put in it. It's called the central processing unit. It's like the brain of your computer. And then there's a graphics card that you put in it. The graphics card is what does your graphics output. If you don't know what yours are, you can go into your computer settings and look and see. You can even go into your BIOS. That's a different video though. So just try to find it out. The best way to determine these things, you can put on some of your telemetry, and you can put on your GPU clock time and your CPU clock time, which will display at the top of your screen, like right at the top. If your GPU time is faster, clock time is faster, that means your GPU dominant. If your CPU clock time is faster, that means your CPU dominant. It is a little confusing. I could definitely understand that. So if you need to watch a more in-depth video, there are YouTube videos out there that just talk about this specific thing. Mine is on plus boost. Try to figure yours out, but this is why you're doing it. I hope you understand that. So now we go to eco custom. I double check this because I don't want this on efficiency. I don't want this on low consumption, because then your thing's not going to perform the way you want it to, and your graphics are all going to go downhill because there's going to be less power draw. Leave it on custom, but don't let it be on efficiency mode or low consumption mode. That's terrible. VSync off for me. Custom frame rate is unlimited. I reduce the render resolution when I am on the menu screen because I don't need the loading and the menu screen to look amazing. I just need the gameplay to look amazing. And then I also reduce the quality when inactive so that my computer doesn't use as much power. It's beneficial for the device itself, but it's also beneficial for the power consumption in your household and your internet consumption daily if you're someone who pays by the data rates. High dynamic range off. Let's get into quality. Obviously, the graphics preset is going to be custom if you're tweaking these things. My render resolution, 2K monitor, matches my monitor, so 100%. I want it to look as good as possible. I could lower it. I will get more frames if I lower it, but to me, it just doesn't look as good. I got a nice looking monitor because I want the game to look good. For upscale and sharpening, dynamic resolution off, by the way. Upscale and sharpening, I have at fidelity cast. This is one of the important ones. You definitely want to put it at fidelity cast because it looks the best. Now, you can, if you're on an NVIDIA graphics card, switch to NVIDIA DLSS. However, it won't look as good, but you will get more frames. So it really depends on what you want. There's a caveat. Once you get those more frames, there is more of an input delay from your device that you're playing with, like your controller. It's called input lag to your game. And so you get a little more input lag when you're using NVIDIA DLSS. And then this ties into NVIDIA DLSS frame generation, which will give you even more frames if your graphics card isn't like the greatest, but it is NVIDIA and can handle it. It will do frame generation, which will give you even more frames, but you'll get more input lag. And that's something that I had on for a while because I thought frames is all that matters. Frames is all that matters. But this game is a game of milliseconds. It's very fast paced and every millisecond counts. So I'd rather get a few less frames and have my controller respond more quickly to what I need it to do. And then for the rest of these, off. Honestly, you can just pause. I'll leave it here on the screen for a second. I go low off pretty much for all of these, with the exception of one thing. Once you get down to shader quality, I know a lot of people are like, how do I make my game look better? It looks terrible. Shader quality is what you're doing there. And I put mine on medium because I am someone who likes my game to look as good as it should. I don't prioritize as much frames as I can. And to me, it's because it doesn't really matter. I watched this whole video on science about frames per second. Once you pass a certain amount, it's actually quite negligible, the difference. You want to put your shader quality on low if you don't have the greatest graphics card. If you have a great graphics card, maybe medium if you're someone who wants the game to look better. But even with a great graphics card, you can still put it on low and you'll get way more frames. Next one that's important is your on-demand texture streaming. Are you getting packet burst? If you're playing the game and your screen says packet burst, that means you have your on-demand texture streaming too high. You go in here to show more. Now I have mine at the maximum allocated, and that's because I have really good internet. However, if you don't have the greatest internet, if you're using multiple devices in your home, let's say your family's watching Netflix, somebody else is using another computer, somebody else has a PlayStation, Xbox, or computer, and they're playing a different game or the same game, it's all going to consume the bandwidth of your internet. So on-demand texture streaming is basically while you're playing the game on demand, it's streaming the texture quality of the surrounding area. So it's going to take some of your internet to do that. And if you're getting packet burst, essentially what's happening is there's a congestion of data and it's all being sent to you at one time because it's being delayed because there's too much congestion. Now, you're still potentially going to get packet burst even if you turn this all the way down to 0. And the reason for that is because Call of Duty servers are not good. They're using 10 tick rate servers, and that's not good. They're a $1 trillion business. They can upgrade the servers. But yes, that's the definition of packet burst. It just means that there's a lot of information being sent, and instead of it coming in a steady stream or a steady flow, it's actually coming all at once, and then it's too much to handle. So then your game starts tripping out. If you have good internet, you can keep it really high. I don't get much packet burst, very rarely, and I don't even think it's because of my internet. I'm starting to realize that it could also just be because of Call of Duty servers. So the rest of these are as follows. I'm going to scroll down here. Again, I have my terrain quality at medium. I just like the game to look a little bit better, but you can put this at low and it won't make much of a difference look wise, I don't think. But it will give you just a bit of a boost in your frames. So just follow these down here. Now we get over to view. For view, the most important thing here, you can copy all of these settings on the screen as well. The most important thing here is the field of view. I find the players look like ants when you have the field of view at 120. It doesn't matter if you can see more, if what you can see is so finite and minuscule that every time you try to aim, you're going right past the person. Especially in this game, if you look at Nuketown, the head glitch behind that car that everybody likes to hide behind, the head glitch is beyond insane. It's to the point where I have this on 105 and I can still barely see the top of a player's head. So you might want to change your field of view. This is preference though. You don't need to do what I'm doing. You just do whatever suits you, whatever floats your boat. Again, you can copy the rest of the stuff down here. Inverted flashbang on because I find it's really bright when the screen flashes white. Now it flashes black. Great. Again, that's preference though. Benchmark, don't need it. So now we get into the controller settings, and we're going to go through this real quick too. Most of this is preference, including the horizontal and vertical sensitivity, which is probably one of the things that you're looking to me to really understand. And in this game, I noticed that the hitboxes seem a bit smaller. I don't know if it's just me, but I found a way to get myself back up to 1.8. And it's funny because in Black Ops 6, I was actually at a 1.65. So it's really preference. They did nerf aim assist and then they buffed it again, which is why I'm refilming this. They nerfed it, then they buffed it, but they didn't buff it as much as they have nerfed it. So it's still considered nerfed. It's affecting mostly your aim assist up close. Horizontal stick sensitivity, vertical stick sensitivity. The only advice I can give you really is to stay within the 1.4 to 1.7 range. I know I have it at 1.8. You're probably like, why? Well, because my field of view is 105. So the only advice that I can give you really that I think would be valuable is to just pay attention to what's happening while you're playing. If you find yourself zooming past your enemy, then your sensitivity is probably a bit too high. If you find yourself not catching up to your enemy while they're moving, then your sensitivity is probably too low. And just keep tweaking it until you find the happy medium there. I will talk to you about the ADS sensitivity multiplier, which does make a difference as well, especially because they nerfed the aim assist up close. So the rest of these are as follows. For your dead zone inputs, I put the left stick max at 65. What that means is when I push my stick, I only need to push it 65% away from the center of my joystick, which is probably about this much, versus having to push it all the way to 100% to get the full motion that I'm looking for. And that's because the left stick is just a movement stick for your character, your body. You just need it to go left, go right, and so you need that to happen immediately. For your right stick, it's the opposite. You should put the maximum and you should put a 0 minimum so that you can do everything within the 0 to 100 range and have as much finite movement as you need within your aiming. Same thing with the triggers. You can basically make it happen right away when you shoot. Next, over on the aiming, sensitivity multiplier, and this is probably the last thing that's most important in my opinion. ADS sensitivity multiplier is 0.8. So mine is 0.8, which is 80% of my actual looking around 1.8 horizontal and vertical movement. This is, to me, close enough to a 1-to-1 ratio. I like to try to put it as close to a 1-to-1 ratio as possible, but it also slows down my ADS just a bit so that I'm not losing control and going all over the place when I'm aiming. Aiming advanced settings, you want to have your transition timing at instant. And with the update, which is why I've had to refilm this video, one of the reasons, aim response curve, you can switch to dynamic. Originally, I would have said standard, and to be honest, if you're new to the game, I would still say standard until you understand what your sensitivity needs to be. Once you know what your sensitivity is and once you're comfortable, then switch it back to dynamic. Custom sensitivity presume is off, and that's because I have my horizontal and vertical at 1.8. I am someone, when I'm using a sniper, I like to get there without aiming and then aim and quick scope. So I don't need to customize my sensitivity presume unless it's Warzone, in which I hope in Warzone I can do that separately and not have to affect my multiplayer. The rest of this, motion, you don't need that. So again, feel free to pause the video. We're on movement now. Pause the video and copy these. Try to master hybrid for your slide and dive behavior. That's a very important one to know. Hybrid allows you to slide and then transition to a laying down position almost immediately. If you have tap to slide on instead or tap to dive, whichever one, there's going to be a delay before it realizes what you need to do. I think hybrid is the best one. Hybrid allows you every range of motion within the game that your character can do, and you should always try to give yourself the most range of movements or aiming, anything that the game offers you, you should try to master, because ultimately it's going to be advantageous, including the wall jumping. And so I have my wall jumping on manual though. I don't use anything automatic, and that's because I have paddles, but I also like to have control over my wall jump. The wall jump is advantageous, but don't overuse it. It's not that great that you need to use it every 5 minutes. However, it has helped me get over and around an enemy to shoot him in his back. So it is useful at times. Again, copy the rest of all these if you want to. I'm just trying to explain the stuff that I think really needs explaining. Vehicle advanced settings, I don't even look at that. I've never even in Warzone, I don't drive a vehicle. Over on combat, again, copy these if you want to. Head into audio, I have it on Treyarch mix. Everything else, again, this is the stuff that you fix yourself. I do have the hit marker preset on default. I do like the sound of the hit marker in this game. Pretty cool. It sounds like almost like you're knocking on glass. And last but not least, go into your interface. And I think the most important thing here, I have telemetry. I used to have it on. You don't need it on. Just have the network in-game alert icons and hardware in-game alert icons on. That's just the real important stuff. That's basically like, oh, your computer can handle this, extrapolation, whatever else. You need to know when that's happening. Everything else you don't really need. You don't need to see your GPU times unless you're calculating whether you should put on plus boost or that category that we were talking about before. The most important thing within this, I think, is your color customization. So I've noticed that this game has a bluish hue. If you don't believe me, let's just go back here. Look at this menu. Everything is a bit blue. This guy's got blue veins on his face. His jeans are blue. But if you look at the actual filter on the screen, it's kind of blue. That means anything in the game that's blue is going to be less visible because it's going to blend in more. Let's go back to the interface. Let's go to color customization and get rid of anything blue. That was a game changer for me. I've always had my enemies at this pinkish color because it is more visible than the red at times. Sometimes there's red stuff in the game and you can't really see anything, but I might change my enemy to this yellow color. I noticed that this yellow color is visible everywhere in this game. Right now I have my teammates as yellow because I switched them from blue. And now when I'm running around, I can see my teammates so easily, but I'm still struggling to see enemies a bit. So I'm going to change my enemies to yellow, and I'm going to change my teammates to like green or something. After you figured out your color settings, don't forget to go down to your color filter, which is right over here. I know I'm showing you with my hand when I have a mouse color filter. You want to be on filter 2. Filter 2 gives you the best saturation, I think. And then color filter target, you want to do both. If you enjoyed this video, definitely drop a like. Comment down below if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, dislikes, if you want to see something different from me in the future. Comment whatever you feel like commenting, just don't be absurd. Just definitely hit that subscribe button with that notification bell on, and last but not least, don't forget to keep it thugging.
Ladies with the hairdressers, get down. Ladies with the nail presses, get down. Fellas with the whole new drip, come through. We gon' kick it like this one time, get down. Fresh fit fitted, I'm a hot end. Whole team all up in the field like a tight end. This is for my ladies in my right hand, working all day, getting paid when the night ends. Fresh fit fitted, I'm a hot end. Whole team all up in the field like a tight end. This is for my ladies in my right hand, working all day, then we pose for the nice lens.